Hello, guys. The following is a conversation I had with indie developer Oliver Joyce less than 48 hours from him releasing his latest game on Steam. Now, Ollie's been working on this game for the past 2 years full time, and I thought it would be interesting to speak with him so close to launch. We talk about his marketing strategies, we talk about how he's feeling, and just generally his thoughts about indie development. So, without further ado, I bring you indie game developer Oliver Joyce.
Just roll with it then.
Yeah. So how are we looking, man? What's the state of things?
Surprisingly good. Hey, it's like we talked about the amount of wish lists you want to try and get, right, as a developer, and no one really knows. No one really knows what the magic number is, but we kind of estimated between 5,000, 7,000, 8,000. Right now, just closing in on 10,000. So more than I thought.
And, in the next couple of days, that could continue to increase, hopefully.
Well, yeah. The thing is, what we always wanted to do was just to reach that popular new upcoming tab. That's the key, right? So if you can get enough wish lists organically through festivals, whatever it is, just to get Steam's attention enough to say, because you know how when you go to Steam, you've got the two tabs, right? You've got the upcoming tab and popular upcoming. I'm sure the difference between the two is huge because I've only ever had one other game that's reached that, and all the other games have never had this wish list boost from being on that popular upcoming tab. Like yesterday, I showed you, what was it, 1,500 wish lists just overnight, just in the one hit, and that's from being on that tab. So that's the difference. That's why we try to get onto that.
So you see it's been mainly bug fixing on your end, or what's the kind of last few days, or just meditating or burning effigies? What's
man. It's so tempting because you're supposed to lock down all your features, right? You'll be at this point where you go, okay, nothing new. All I'm doing is balancing and just bug fixing a bit and pieces, but it's in my nature to want to add stuff. So even yesterday, I'm going, let's just add a few new skills for these different species and just add this little thing where you can enter a code into the game and stuff like that. So I've decided after today, I'm just not touching it. It's like, it seems pretty balanced. It seems pretty stable. Just don't touch anything until, Monday. Good thing with Steam, though, is you can roll back. You can roll back versions, but you don't want to be in that position where someone has streamed the game and they're, there's a bug that it wasn't there 2 days ago.
Yeah, because each bug has you could give it a danger level, and as a developer, you often get a sense like, hey, I know the nature of this bug, and I know that it may not be what it appears to be, and changing this now in a superficial way that I think is kind of patching the hole, it could create a spout over here and bring the whole ship down. Just some game-breaking bug that literally locked the title screen or something, like the start button stopped working.
I understand that happens. Or they'll ship with the debug menu still on or something like that, so people can just go, oh yeah, here's how I cheated the game, and the game was ruined because it was too short because I cheated. So it's we've talked about this before, but I reckon it's a nerve-wracking time, but because no matter how popular you think your game might be or how much you've done to make your game as good as it can be, you still just don't know how it's going to be received. Wish lists can be very deceptive. And until you actually see those reviews coming in on the game, hopefully, your reviews, the worst thing you want to see is no reviews or, too early to tell, less than 10 reviews, because that means your game has just disappeared. That's happened to me before, and you just want to get reviews in just because it starts getting the word out there and people will see, oh yeah, this game is popular, because that's how you judge a game's popularity, right? It's had 1,000 reviews, it must be popular.
And it always, like you mentioned with the wish list, you always kind of have to question the quality of, and you were part of the Steam Fest, and you've had your wish list pool is a mix of different kind of sources, and which is a good thing, because if it was too heavily skewed towards one particular thing, then you're putting a lot of eggs and hoping that particular avenue of wishlist has a convertibility. Basically, it's
Yeah, that's right. And we've talked about the quality of wish lists, and it feels like, and I've read about this before, where a lot of people can use the wish list almost like as a bookmark. Yeah, I might get that game later, I might not. And the Steam Rogue Festival, that was a more recent one, but the Next Fest, which I was part of, um, I think everyone got a lot of wish lists. So I sort of had to take that as a bit of a grain of salt as far as look, a couple of thousand wish lists from there. But the good thing about that festival, and I would urge all developers to try and put your games in these festivals, just because they do increase your wish list count regardless of the quality of the wish lists, and that can be enough to get you into the popular tab, and then
Right.
hopefully the new and trending tab on Steam, if that's what you want.
Because
Which
Steam,
ultimately, hopefully we want.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I would think you'd want, because Steam itself doesn't discern between, well, where'd you get this wish list or where'd you get that list? It's just a wish list. It's just a data point to Steam. So even if you were,
Yeah,
to be part of some festival or whatever system that you were able to procure a large amount of wish lists, even if they were all dud low conversion, which often is the case, hopefully it's enough still to trigger the Steam popular trending algorithm, and then you can get some organic wish lists through their system of promotion on the portal. So you kind of, you almost have to do whatever you can, whether it's kind of
yeah,
knowing that what you're doing may very well not be a high conversion wish list approach, with the hope that then leads to the second phase, which is Steam's organic discovery, which is the motherlode, which is where it's at, because Steam does
yeah,
all the
for
marketing work for
sure.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. And conversion rate's another thing that sort of like you don't find out until later how, the quality of those wish lists. But I kind of know from the previous games that I've made, the other games in the Sword and Sandals series, generally the best ones, the most popular Sword and Sandals games, have a really high conversion rate of, I think it's like 30% of, wish lists to actual sales. The unpopular ones, not that many of them, but there's enough that have more like less than 10%. And I've read that some games you see like have, 30, 40,000 wish lists, and then some shockingly low conversion rate of like 2% or something, because people just bookmarked it on a whim, and then when they came back they really thought, well, this game wasn't what I thought, and or they read some bad reviews. So that's why the reviews kind of go hand in hand with the wish list get the eyeballs in. Reviews are what can kind of basically confirm the sale, or confirm the the thumbs down, the no sale.
I'll definitely get a copy and leave review. Negative review.
Yeah,
Do it this
thanks,
good.
man.
No.
Yeah, not recommended. What? I thought we were friends. Yeah. But yeah, the things are good, man. It's all I think it's all progressing pretty well. I couldn't have asked for a much better lead up in terms of feel like you've ticked every box that you could. You contacted as many streamers and YouTubers and so on, and the games media, who've largely ignored the game so far. Thanks, guys. But the streamers, so the YouTubers and streamers have been the lifeblood of indie games for years and years, and that's where it is. The big games media only tend to pick your game up once it's already popular. And to be honest, like I feel like a big YouTuber the stream of a big YouTuber or something like that is worth much more than one article from Kotaku or something, in terms of reach. Just in terms of also the longevity of it. People read an article, it stays up for a day or two, but a YouTube video tends to get a lot more repeat views.
I mean, look, man, when was the last time you read a Kotaku article or a review? It's like I can't even think of one that I've read in the past 2 years, unless it was something that was really aligned with, some pop culture, like, oh, somebody remade Zelda in 3D or something like that, but not for kind of indie games, you know what I mean? Like you said,
Yeah,
it's all about the
absolutely.
stream. Everyone knows it's a streamer's game at the moment, which is
Yeah,
why,
for sure, man. And you still feel like you have to do your due diligence as a developer, like, give them all the keys and let them know, but you never hear anything back. And I don't know many indie devs who've had much success cracking that market until the ones that you've already heard of, you know what I mean? So at which point, of course, they're going to get covered. So it's a bit of a, catch-22
yeah.
situation. But yeah, but overall, man, I'm pretty excited. 2 days to go, and no more touching of the code. Just doing a lot of yeah, just yeah. we're in a good spot, I think.
So,
Almost need to
so
just
what are you
not
up
do
to?
anything.
Are you just doing marketing related stuff now? Or are you doing still a bit of polish? Are you still like, is the version locked down? Is submitted at this point?
Yeah, it is. The version is locked down and submitted, except there's one more thing I've got to upload to Steam is I've got a little code window in the you go to the weaponsmith or something, you press a button and you got this thing saying, "Oh, enter this code." And what I've done with that is that's basically like a promotional tool that I can use in YouTube videos or Patreon articles or whatever it is, whatever other medium you want to use, just to say, hey guys, enter this code and you get something cool. Whether it's like a free health potion for your character or a special hat for them or something. So it's almost like you're just sort of putting a little back end tool into the game that you can sort of future proof in later. And it's again, it's marketing, right? So sometimes it's good to think of these things before you launch the game so you can have the widest access to people to use them in the game when the game launches. So that's gone in today, and then tomorrow I might just take it easy, hey, because there's nothing else I can do except for break the game, and I don't want to do that.
Just sit back and reflect
on what could
the
have
journey.
been.
Because the moment that game is out, you have it's the eye of the storm. You have a moment of calm before that goes out, and then after that, you're going to be all over the analytics, checking reviews, and then some post-launch. That launch window, that first week, there's going to be a lot of legwork potentially as well. I imagine you'll come up with all types of things.
That's a crazy week. That's a crazy week because you often can patch your game 5-6 times in a day. Steam's really good for patching. You can have a patch up in 5 minutes and people can be downloading that same patch. But it is a very frantic time, and you often can be a little bit reactionary with people saying, this is too hard, that's not hard enough. And you sort of doubt yourself a bit, thinking, oh, did I make that too hard? Or is this person just not used to the game yet? And that kind of thing. It's a real roller coaster of emotion. And then it's only in a few weeks after you kind of can sit back and kind of go, all right, the highs weren't quite as high, the lows weren't as low. And there is a little bit of, I don't know, like depression is far too strong a word, but a bit of a letdown after you launch a game because you've been spending so long building up to that launch that in the moments before that launch, that game can be anything. It could be the next Stardew Valley, for all you know. Chances are it isn't. But when your game launches, then almost in every instance, that's what the game's going to be. Sometimes the game will get picked up 2 years later, like that, or was it Among Us, that little astronaut game that got picked up years later and became massive. But for most games, once it's out, that's what it is. And so you kind of like, until you've launched that, you don't know.
Yeah. I think a lot of people forget just how many games come out every week, every month, every year. And every Friday, even,
Yeah,
and,
man. Like,
it's
just check the upcoming tab. Check the upcoming tab on Steam. Not even the popular upcoming, just the regular upcoming. There are so many games, and to be honest, like you look at about 75% of them, I reckon. You kind of think, oh man, this wasn't ready. You shouldn't have released this on Steam for money. You know what I mean? Put it on itch or something like that. Because everyone thinks you can just put a game out there. I mean, maybe I don't think that anymore, but there's still this belief that Steam is the final destination of all games. But it's much harder to be successful now on Steam.
Here's the reality of it. In today's market, it's hard enough to get people to play a game for free. Like you can send people your Steam key and say, hey, I've got a cool game, play it, and they won't play it.
Exactly right. And time is the commodity for many people because there are so many games and music and books and everything, streaming services all competing for your attention. The days of just going, hey, it's free, play it, just don't cut it anymore. And you really have to work hard to convince people to play your game. And you have to go so far as to say, why should you play this game instead of doing something else? And that is the hard sell. And that's why we talk about marketing being so important and not an exact science, but it really does represent a long journey and a big part of your game development journey. You're learning how to make a game, but you're also learning how to market a game through success and through failures, and often more you learn is through failures.
And I still remember a time in sort of recent memory where we would still scoff at the idea of having to learn marketing as a a game as an indie developer. It's like marketing, it's like, I'm not a marketer, I'm a game developer, I'm a creative, like, what is this? But now it's very much understood to be, they are deeply integrated. And I think anyone
huge.
entering the space has an understanding of that. But especially in the old Flash days, because there were so many avenues for free distribution. There was a website called Mochi Media where you'd make a game and you would just literally upload your FLA, or your Swift rather, to the portal, and it'll disseminate your game to millions of portals for free on your behalf, because then they were making a profit from all the distribution. So they had a well-oiled kind of distribution platform that really benefited the creator, which is, we're kind of missing that now in the market.
Mochi Media was amazing, and they had that Mochi bot you could put into your Flash games, and you could actually see every day the amount of plays they were having, and you could see the numbers on some of these games. I mean, I know some of your early games, like the drag racing game and everything, you're talking like hundreds of thousands of plays a day.
Dude,
reach that. You don't even reach with Steam games these days. But marketing still remains the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges in game dev. And there will be things in this game that I'll go, oh man, if I'd only had done this, if I didn't put anything on TikTok, or I didn't do enough this or that. You know what I mean? There's always something that you go, I could have done better, until you're at the top. And then you have someone to do that for you.
Yeah, I guess the challenge is you're a solo indie developer at this point. You don't have a team around. Yeah, like, right? So you're obviously doing all the coding, or the art direction, or the game design, and then also doing all the marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which has got me thinking. In the future, in my case, I want to maybe start looking at collaborating more with other people.
For sure. I mean, we always talk about our dream game we want to make, and that dream game changes with every beer that we have. But there are definitely, I think there are real merits to collaboration when you find the right project, because everyone just has, skills and ideas that the others don't. And you see the strengths that come from, just collaborative ideas and so on, that you wouldn't have thought of yourself, or something that someone else brings to the table that you would never have been able to make yourself.
At the same time, it's a little bit cathartic to kind of work alone, to not be at the behest of another person, or not have to worry too much about what micromanaging somebody else, or is that person doing what, am I doing more work than them? Is this an even kind of thing? Especially if you've already contracted up some financial agreements, like 50% or 60-40, and then you're kind of holding them accountable for what represents that much money. And if you feel like you're doing all the work, all of a sudden that it starts to kind of
it's no longer the 50-50 split, and there's resentment there. And there are a lot of pros to working as a solo developer, and a lot of cons as well. And a lot of it takes used to. A lot of it you have to get used to. And to be honest, I've never really worked as in a team as an indie developer. Really, I've had worked with contractors, just giving them, you do this art, and then I'll take that on board, but never in the full collaborative sense. So I think the next big project that happens with will be a learning experience. And like you said, you have to kind of hash all this out, as far as like who's doing what, how fair is this relationship, that kind of stuff like that. So and all indie studios have to deal with that. And the other thing is, the more people you bring on board for a partnership like that, the more your game has to sell, because you're splitting the revenue between 3, 4, 5, 6 people. You know what I mean? So if a game has 8 people in it, it has to kind of sell 8 times more. What's the sort of the balance between how much you need to make and how big your team can get, and what's the minimum you can kind of live on? If you're doing this like as a hobby or part-time, and you have another income, you can kind of extend that time as far as like, well, we already have jobs and so on, so we're kind of doing this with the hope that we'll all make money. But if you all of a sudden, do that, I'm throwing in my job to do this, can you live on $20,000 a year? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. If the average wage is twice that, if it's cheaper, if you're earning more money like working at McDonald's than as a game developer, how long is that sustainable?
Yeah, that's a good point, right?
But, so you have
scary,
to, man.
which is why you just
It's the
have to
spirit of
you
opposition.
have to love that creative pursuit. That's why I've often,
Yeah.
and I try to hammer that home to people. It's like, hey man, like, because if you love the pursuit, then even if it all burns in flames, at least you say, hey man, that was fun. That was a fun ride, right?
Yeah, and I think you and I would always still be making games in at least some capacity, whether we were making financially or not. And I think when we're old and retired, you'll still be thinking of game ideas and tinkering with things, whether this is in a commercial setting or not. It doesn't really matter. If it's in your blood, it's in your blood.
Mm.
And if you're doing this just for the fun of it, all those commercial considerations and marketing, they can go out the window, and sometimes all the stress of that could go out the window. So if you were somehow financially um, independent and wealthy, could just make games without worrying about the financial side of things, that'd be perfect, right?
Mm. Yeah, man. That's the objective, isn't
It's
it?
a dream.
Because
Yeah, man.
to get to a point of complete sustainability where you don't have to pander to the market. You don't have to be making games that, oh, this game is what the market wants at this particular year, or oh, it's
Hmm.
2023 now, or this particular niche is hot. This,
Yeah, this is out of favor, or
yeah,
people
you
only
kind of
want
just.
this. You have to put deck building in your game now, or whatever.
But yeah, maybe it'll always be like that. Maybe you can't ever avoid that and the moment you do is where you start kind of having a bit of a deficit, and then the year late,
Yeah,
and then I mean, you might have a year off where you build the game that you want that is completely unmarketable, but you like it. It's
yeah.
your favorite kind of
But you had a good
childhood
time,
thing.
and yeah.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that that's how my career will end, and then I'm back doing what I used to do, and I'll see you there.
All right, guys, it's been a fun few years now. It's time to make what is it? What is it this year? Like I don't know,
Like a
matching.
match 3 deck building endless runner that everyone wants in VR. Yeah,
and
great.
with metaverse
Oh yeah,
integration,
it's got to be in
right?
the metaverse,
This
and
metaverse.
then NFTs all through it for sure.
What's in store for the Swords and Sandals franchise, or is that still something you're deciding?
Well, it
Or
kind of
actually, it's a
I
bit of a premature question because I guess we'll know after next week.
Yeah, well, to a point, I think there is still because it's early access, you get that second bite of the cherry in theory with a full launch and a more improved game. Not quite the same sort of buzz around it, but for me, I think, look, if this game does really well, awesome. It will kind of give me the funds and the financial means to be able to go. Let's park that for a while. I've done Sword and Sandals for 16 years now, more or less. Not every year, but at least sort of the last sort of 6 or 7 years, like game every year kind of thing. I'd love to have this park it and then start something new, start a new project. On the same token, if the game does really badly, that's probably the end for Sword and Sandals too. So like, either way, I think I'd like to start something new next year, man. I think it's been a good ride, but I also love to take a bit of a break from the series. And I think people need a break from it as well.
Yeah, or it becomes like an Avengers situation or
Yeah.
Marvel.
Fast and
It's
Furious
it's
10 or whatever
profitable.
it
Just
is,
keep churning it out while it's making money. But that never ends well, right? Like I mean, Assassin's Creed tried to do that, and then I think they had to take like a year or two off to let
Yeah, Star Wars with the Star Wars sequels and then a bunch of spin-off movies, people needed a break from it. And I think the developer needs a break from it as well. And I'm saying I would never make more Sword and Sandals, but I would love to go build this game next 4 or 5, 6 months in early access, make it the game it needs to be, and then park it and build something else for a year or two. That would be fun. And then if there's still demand for the other Sword and Sandals, then go back to it. But if there's not, hopefully the next game does well.
yeah, man. I keep thinking about games I'd like to make. That's the problem with any long term project. You have to kind of lock yourself in and lock yourself out of other ideas and genres for a little while. But unfortunately, that's the only way to really make, well, like a marketable product that is truly polished and ready to go in this current market climate.
You look at just about every success story, and they've put years into it, and whether that's sort of a couple of years of sustained work between many people, or in other cases 5 6 years with one developer part time, that kind of thing. You need that time, and to put the polish into your product, because these days the bar is so high, depending on the genre, of course, but like the bar is so high that by the time you think your game is ready, you look at the other games around it and you go, oh, it's not, it needs this, it needs this. So it's a very competitive industry these days, and you can't just rush games out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. This is a depressing
No,
but
not
having
at all.
said that, it's just realistic, I think, like just to say, hey, if you're gonna spend time on your game, spend that little bit extra, really make it the game you want it to be, because a few months more could just be the difference between the game being the success you want it to be, and if you release it too early. What's that? Who, I can't remember who said it. Was it like Miyazaki or someone? Who said it? Miyamoto? A bad game is bad forever, and a good game can be delayed or something. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically saying, yeah, if you rush a game, it's bad forever. You have to find that balance between rushing a game out and striving for perfection, because another saying, perfection is the enemy of good.
And
so
good is good enough, often.
Yeah, good enough. Yeah.
So, if I can be of any assistance to you in the next 2 days, let me know.
Thank you, my friend.
My plate is full, but there's always room to reshuffle some of the meatballs and add another.
No, you've been an awesome help through this journey. This this game has been in development for not that long, really, about 18 months or so. But
that's pretty good. 18 months. That's solid, man. But you've been working on it pretty.
Full time. So compared to previous games, this is the most sort of time spent on it. But you've been an awesome help and a collaborator on sharing ideas and just throwing builds off each other and saying try this, and that you need that. And if you're in the game dev business, find yourself a fellow game dev who can you can confide in without the public sort of forum. So thanks, man. I think this is probably the most confident I've been in releasing a game. That famous last words. We'll see, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
That every month you're making games, you live in the indie dream, right? So it doesn't matter about the end result. Sometimes you got to enjoy the journey, regardless of how the game sells.
I like that, man. That's a nice thought to leave it on. All right, man. All the best, and I'll be watching.
Yeah. Watch the train wreck.
All right. See you, man. I'll speak to you later.
See you, mate.
I hope you've enjoyed the discussion, guys. Depending on when you watch this video, his game may still be in pre-release or might have officially released to early access. So please check out his Steam page. I'll link it down below. He's also got a great YouTube channel under Whiskey Barrel Studios. He does a lot of different game dev related videos that I really think you'll appreciate. So check that out. I'll drop a link down below. It's definitely worth the sub. All right, guys. See you in the next video. Bye.